So, how important do you think sleep is for a teenager to grow and properly function at school?
And could we clarify grow and develop?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Huge. From what I hear and, what I could sort of share anecdotally. Huge.
Why?
Well, for me, say a good cause for alarm or a good alarm bell or a noticeable alarm bell is when I'm teaching a first block class and a kid is at his desk and is asleep in 5 minutes. Now, I'll take some responsibility for the boring teacher and content, whatever. But, clearly that boy is sleep deprived. One shouldn't be that tired at 8:30. And when I see that on a regular basis, I'm getting in touch with the head of grade and getting in touch with the counselor, because without sleep, that boy is not going to be able to function here at school. And if he's not able to function at school, to me, the greater concern then becomes he's not going to be developing, that lack of sleep, if it's perpetual, could hurt him in the long run.
So, do you think in today's society, most teenagers aren't getting enough sleep?
Okay, based on what I hear from studies,
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah, but I would, the average kids here at our school, for example, most of them to me seem to be getting enough sleep,
Okay.
in the sense that they just seem generally aware and perky. If that,
What do you think the main reasons for lack of sleep for teenagers is?
Stress, I'm sure, and I sense that a lot of kids are late at night is when they're either doing some social networking, or I think even worse is when maybe social networking through games, and so they're getting, I think, it's their fun time and they really enjoy doing it, but that they get very, I think, even though they're sitting keyed up, and their minds are working very hard at a time when they should be slowing down and easing into a mode of calmness, so that efficient and quality sleep can be achieved.
How many hours of sleep do you get a night?
I'd say about 8.
8 hours? Do you think that's enough, being a teenager?
Yeah, I think 8 hours is a good amount of sleep to get. I'd like to get more, but
Yeah.
I'm busy with homework and other stuff, so 8 is probably the right number for me.
Alright, thank you. So, how many hours of sleep do you get a night?
I get about 6 to 7 hours of sleep every night.
Okay. Do you think that's enough?
I think it's enough for me.
Yeah? How come?
I don't feel like I need too much sleep. I am pretty young, so I can deal with it. And there's a lot of work that comes with school and extracurricular activities, so I do have to stay up late sometimes to finish.
So, how many hours of sleep do you get a night?
I get an average of 7 hours of sleep.
Okay. For someone your age, do you think that's enough?
I think it differs from person to person, but personally I think it's not enough for me. Usually it's because I have a lot of work to do
Yeah.
and I procrastinate, so I end up staying up until 1 a.m. sometimes trying to finish my work.
So, how many hours of sleep do you get a night?
Typically between 4 and 6.
Okay. Do you think that's enough?
No, it's definitely not enough. I think 8 hours is probably optimal. My current trend is that I sleep very little during the week, and then I play catch up on the weekend and try to sleep a lot on Saturday and Sunday.
How important do you think sleep is for someone at St. George's, a student?
It is extremely important, and students need more sleep than adults because the demands on them are pretty high, especially at St. George's with required co-curriculars after school, and so the school day doesn't even end until 5:30 sometimes, along with the other demands that they're doing, and concerts, band festivals, sports everything else that is thrown against them. So definitely they need as much sleep as they can get.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
I get around 7 hours of sleep, and if it's a heavy workload of homework, I have like 6 hours of sleep. And I don't think it's enough amount of sleep because if we're growing at this age, then you need a relaxation and sleep to make the bones grow. So if we're only getting like 7 hours of sleep, then it's not enough, and that's why I think we should be able to have more sleep.
Okay. What can you do to try and get more sleep?
I should probably be more organized and get my homework done faster because as it is, I procrastinate a lot, which is a problem. But it's also if I'm only procrastinating like 30 minutes, which means that it's still a lot of homework if I'm going to bed at like 10:30, 11. So that's a lot of things.
So how many hours of sleep do you get a night?
About 7 hours or 8 hours a day.
Okay. Do you think that's enough?
I think it's plenty.
Really?
Yeah.
How come?
Because, well, I'm not tired after 7 hours of sleep. And yeah,
Okay.
it's just like personal things.
And do you think being a boarder, you're getting less sleep than a day student?
Oh, no, we technically get a lot of sleep because we're supposed to sleep at 10:30. But since it's exam time and there's a lot of stuff due, like it usually goes, like my bedtime is usually like 11:30 now.
How many hours of sleep do you get a night?
I usually get 8 or so hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that's enough for someone your age?
I should probably be getting more, and I know there are like other kids that get even less. And sometimes when I have lots of homework, I get less. So yeah, I think I should be getting more.
Okay. Because you live far away from the school, does that make you have more sleep or less sleep?
Definitely less, because if I live closer to the school, I think I could get my homework done earlier, and then I could go to bed earlier.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times what happens is when people have, for example, if they live close to school and they have a lot of time, they procrastinate, so they go to bed later. Whereas if you live farther away, you have less time to do things, so you just get it done and over with.
I think procrastination is still a problem with me too. Like I find I still procrastinate even though I do live farther from the school.
Okay.
So I need to work on that.
So how many hours of sleep do you get a night?
6 or 7.
Okay. And do you think that's enough for someone your age?
No.
Well, what's keeping you up at night?
I don't know. Homework and stuff.
Okay. And do you ever have to wake up early for school?
Yeah.
Yeah? What do you think you could do to go to bed earlier?
I don't know. Turn off my distractions and stuff.
Yeah. So how many hours of sleep do you get a night?
Well, I go to bed at 10:30 and wake up at 7:15, so that's about 8 hours and 45 minutes.
Yeah. Do you think that's enough?
Well, I definitely could sleep a lot earlier, but I feel that's enough since I wake up rejuvenated.
Yeah.
And refreshed.
You said you feel like you could go to bed earlier. What reasons are keeping you up? Being at the boarding house.
Well, at the boarding house, every grade 10 student, regardless, has homework to do, and sometimes the boarding house has regulations to keep students from staying up past 10:30, and I think it's pretty beneficial to do that because so every student could get the same amount of sleep. But what's keeping me from getting the
optimal amount of sleep.
Yeah, the optimal amount of sleep is probably because of the amount of work I have to do and other activities.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we know that sleep is incredibly important to young people and particularly to teenagers. The research is really clear that teenagers need a sufficient amount of sleep in order to grow physically, but also to support them in their emotional and psychological development. Teenagers actually need more sleep than adults. So if adults need on average 8 hours of sleep a night, teenagers need more than that. So the research is really clear that enough sleep is essential to the positive development of young people.
Do you think the boys at our school get enough sleep?
So unfortunately they don't. And we know that definitively from the survey we did in April of 2013. I don't remember the exact numbers, you should check them out, but the majority of senior school boys do not get at least 8 hours of sleep a night. And my recollection is that as they go through senior school, they actually get less sleep, and the boarders probably get less sleep than day boys. So the data from the survey illustrates clearly that St. George's senior school boys do not get enough sleep.
What do you think the reasons are for that?
So I think there are a lot of reasons, and it probably varies by boy. So for some boys, it's because they're staying up late watching videos or doing social media or gaming. And for other boys, it's because they're doing homework, working on projects, studying for tests, things of that sort. Either way, boys need more sleep than most of our boys are getting at St. George's.
And the last question is, how many hours of sleep do you get, and do you think that's enough?
That's a good question. So as an adult, I should probably get 8 hours of sleep a night, and I don't. I probably get somewhere between 6 and 7, which is fine, because I'm not a growing teenager. So as an adult, I can manage on 6 or 7 hours of sleep a night. It's better if I had 8. But if you're a teenager and you're only getting 6 hours of sleep a night, that's a more serious issue than it is for me. But that said, I probably need to get more sleep as well.
So how many hours of sleep do you get a night?
I'd say around 8 to 10 hours a night.
Okay. And you think that's enough?
Yeah, I don't know. I always wake up pretty tired, so probably not, but seems like enough.
Okay. If you're saying that it isn't enough, what do you think is keeping teenagers today or at the school up late at night and not getting enough sleep?
Definitely the computers.
Yeah.
The phones. Always being constantly surrounded by new stuff. Definitely.
Okay.
At least for me.
All right.
So how many hours of sleep do you get a night?
I think 7 hours of sleep.
Okay.
Typically.
Do you think that's enough for someone your age?
It give or take, I think it's enough. Yeah.
Okay.
I personally feel like I sleep enough.
Okay. Do you think people at Saints get enough sleep usually?
It all depends on your time management. I think a lot of kids sometimes struggle with the academics and balancing extracurricular activities as well. So sometimes it can be tough, but for the most part, it's probably a 50-50 divide between kids who get enough sleep and kids who don't.
Do you think because you live far away from the school that you're getting less sleep because you're getting back later and more stuff to do?
Most definitely, yeah. But I have to really manage my time well in order to get a decent amount of sleep.
All right.